Hey everyone, traders, friends, and family. Welcome to statistically my most profitable day of the week. That's why I spell it Wednesday, W-I-N-S-D-A-Y. Let's hop into some stocks that you requested and that I think might be moving, look at some analysis, talk about them, and enrich lives together. You rock. I'll see you in the video. Traders from around the world, what's going on? It's your boy, Jeremy Alexander Newsom with reallifetrading.com. It is starting out May with an incredible day in the markets. Oh my goodness. What's cool about the SPY is we actually did make another all-time high today, and it just looks like with this gap up, I love the gap up. FOMC stuff is happening. Not really that bearish. Sure, we could pull back, and I kind of hope we do, so that this covered call expires worthless, or I could buy it back for cheaper. But yeah, folks, we're at all-time highs. So at this point, any pullback, I think, is, again, viable, as I've been saying all year. That's the SPY. The Qs, pretty much the same thing. All-time highs. Again, I wouldn't specifically be loading up the boat right here, but any kind of pullback that you get, I think it's viable short-term and, again, long-term. You know, just depends on your long-term positions, but most likely just stay in. Dow Jones did break out of that lower trend. The Dow has not made all-time highs yet, but it will after it gets a little bit of a pullback. So the Dow hanging out, doing its thing, you know, again, just kind of chilling a little bit, but any kind of pullback I still think is viable, bullish to neutral, kind of across the board. A fun day out in the markets, so many good things to look at. We will look at Apple in just a few moments, but before we do that, let's go look at some stocks that were requested. Here's Kellogg's, and I believe Kellogg's come out with earnings tonight. This is a stock that if it does gap down, I will not short it. One of my recent rules is I do not short food stocks on earnings because they are so strong and so powerful. So if this thing gaps down, gaps down 55, 56, something like that, I'll be looking to buy it on a gap down fade. And if it gaps up, preferably if it opens around 60, 72, 61, some change, very bullish gap up into 64. The weekly chart, you got the 100 simple at 64.90, and the monthly chart, we actually are bouncing off of the 200 simple on a monthly chart. The cool news is brand new monthly charts out there, folks. Keep your eyes peeled for that. But this is a stock that has been just in a slow grind higher since 1990. You can see that it's bounced off the 200 simple moving average on the monthly chart before, and it's down here again. So long term, if you're looking at a dividend reinvestment stock or a DRIP or a long-term blue chip buy low sell high, this is one of them. Next on the list, I also had a request for Evh Evelyn Health. This is also the monthly chart. And what's cute about these two monthly candles is they really are high wave candles. So you got a rock solid tweezer bottom at 1209 on a monthly chart. That's a big deal. So if at any point in time it breaks above the high of the last 2 months, I think this is a great buy low sell high opportunity. Weekly chart, you're kind of grinding sideways a little bit. In the daily chart, again, we're consolidating, trading sideways. We're in a channel. We're in a small channel. So if at any point in time we break above these resistances, close above, great. If we trade back down into these supports, buyable. So figure out how you want to play it, and that's my analysis on EVH. Next on the list, a lot of traders looking at U.S. Steel, and earnings around the corner on this pretty much bearish trend right now. I don't think U.S. Steel is going to become despondent, meaning I still think people will use the actual product itself. But right now, a $13 put sale for 2 contracts, which would be 200 shares, is not a super expensive investment. And if you are looking at getting in U.S. Steel, I think it's a good price to kind of start tiptoeing your toes into the water with some buy low, sell high positions. Sure, it could go all the way down to $7, $6. I mean, it did it back in 2016. Could happen again. But when it did that, it did go from 6 to 40. I don't know about you. It's a pretty good return on a dividend-paying stock that has really fun options. So just something to consider. It is in a bearish move. You're just looking at how low can you get some U.S. Steel. That is the question. So if it gaps down on earnings, I'll probably look for fade up And if it gaps up on earnings, the only gap up I like is an open above 1787, which is like a 20% gap, and I don't think that's going to happen. So that's my thoughts on U.S. Steel. Next on the list, I actually got a request for a fun index. This is the, I forget what index this is. Shoot. It's okay. The person who requested know what index this is. I just forgot. It's either the Iranian or TASI. I could probably Google it really quick. I just forget what flag that is. So you'll have to forgive me for my ignorance. Either way, it's an index, and this is the weekly chart. So to really get a big picture on indices, you normally look at the monthly, and you can see that you had a massive crash in 2006. Really, really big pullback. So from that was the bubble. This is the bubble. This is the correction, right? And massive correction, nice, gorgeous wave 5 correction. Pulls into the 200 simple on a monthly chart. First time it's ever been hit, and that's been the bottom, which was 2008. So this was actually kind of like a precursor to the U.S. crash. And as it's been bouncing, this is a beautiful accumulation phase. So longer term, it looks good. I mean, long term, you're buying down here, you're accumulating. It's going to take some time, but it looks good. The weekly moving averages, this was a gorgeous consolidation in 2018 and a beautiful bounce. Good trend, good momentum, a lot of bullish candles in a row. So I wouldn't be loading the boat right now on this particular indice or in these, in this environment. But if you're looking at picking up some shares on a pullback, that's great. But if you're in some positions and you're looking to hold, yes, and yes, as the trend right now, I think has fully recovered. And it's just from here, an accumulation and a matter of time before you start seeing it trade back up into the 11,000 mark and then eventually back up into that 18,000, 20,000 mark, which could take a while. But like Bitcoin, that big crash, it consolidates and it's going to get back up before too long. Another stock that was requested on the same indices, this is 2380. This is an actual stock on this index, and this is the monthly chart. Because again, when I pull up a stock I've never looked at before, I look at the monthly to see what it's doing. And right now you're hanging out at the 100 simple on a monthly chart. That's a good sign for the bulls. Here's the weekly. It's also hanging out on the 100 simple on a weekly chart. That's also a good buying sign. And the daily chart, you're below the 100 simple. So at this point, realistically, a close above 2002, which is the 100 simple on a daily chart, looks like a good buying opportunity to me. In fact, you got a really pretty bullish gap and go today. A little bit of an upper shadow so far in this candle, but a close above here, and I would not specifically be bearish on this refining company on that index. All right, also had a request for Boeing, and Boeing, ladies and gentlemen, is sideways. So this thing is going to be moving sideways for a while. In fact, I was really considering doing an iron condor, still am, on Boeing. Something down here, maybe a 320 bull put spread with like a 430 bear call spread. Maybe June, July. It's going to trade sideways for a while. And that's okay. You can make money in sideways movements, but as it trades sideways, as it consolidates, eventually it could make a little bit of a dip, maybe into 353, 354, and then bounce. But long term, you got to be bullish on Boeing. I know that they have a lot of headline risk right now. There's a lot of challenges, with the FAA and the FBI and the CIA doing some investigations. And obviously, it was terrible what happened with the loss of lives, a few weeks back. But I mean, if we're just looking at the chart purely from a technical and fundamental perspective, it's hard to be wrong Boeing longer term. Best performing stock in the Dow for a while, and it's not even close. I mean, this thing, since 2013, just been on fire. I expect it to continue, and again, it's going to chop around, hang out for a bit, but it looks really good for some sideways momentum, and eventually a Bollinger Band breakout, most likely to the downside initially. Everyone hops on bearish, it traps people, and then bounces bullish. That's my thoughts on Boeing. Now, many of you are here to get my thoughts on Apple. So here's what I'm going to do. First off, I'm going to simply talk about how many traders made money trading Apple today in the day trading, real life trading group. Just across the board, congratulations. I might have to scroll up. I'm trying to figure out this, but my boy Ricky made 11 R's on AMD. Check out this trade. Buying the bottom pretty much on AMD. Stephen King also did a great trade on this one. So let me kind of keep scrolling up because a lot of them, again, were early. But here's Brad was talking about Apple calls. So that was some of the trades that they were placing in the morning room. I'm going to keep scrolling a little bit. Keep scrolling. But again, buying Apple calls, a really great trade by Sarah Russell as well. Let me find Sarah's post earlier today. Did I already scroll by it? I might have already scrolled by it. There's just so much good content and information very frequently in this chat pane that sometimes I can overlook it. There's Sarah making 2 R's on AMD. Again, a lot of people making fun of me about how much I love Apple. But I've been bullish on Apple for a long time. I think if you listen to any stock review since January, you know I've been bullish on Apple. In fact, you might recall on this day is when I had the free open house week at Real Life Trading where I was talking about Apple. So let's go back and listen to that analysis on Apple from that specific day.
That's overstock. Ladies and gentlemen, Apple is not going to stop. Whew, what a gap. High of the day, 166.15. The 50 EMA is 166.01, and it did precisely what we talked about yesterday. Gapped up, traded down, and then bounced. High bullish, high wave, engulfing candle at 905. Just, and then it retested right here. This is a really beautiful buy again for a second time. And then yeah, the FOMC, all that definitely helped because it could have gone either way. Ricky says he's happy that he bought Apple before earnings. Me too. I'm happy for you. Love the volume. Love the gap. Hitting the 50. Probably will take a day or two to break through that, but once it does, dividends around the corner, might dip a little bit from there. So it's hit target 1. This is a gap and go, and something like this on Apple. I mean, I'm not bearish on Apple anymore. For now. I was definitely bearish on Apple pretty hard once it started breaking the 100. And I was bearish until it traded all the way down to the 200, which was exactly 142 to the spot. John says, do you have any good videos discussing high wave candles? I do not. I think that's in my history. Yep, high wave candles. It's on my ideas list. So I don't have one that talks about just high wave candles, but bottom line, John, they're indecision candles, and that's really it. Tammy says, can you cover Facebook and Tesla? I can. Just hold tight. We're getting there. Albert says, don't you think it'll go sideways after hitting the 100? Yes. So it will, but the 100 is 7 points away. Albert says, what hint convinced you on Apple? I was pretty bullish going into Apple on earnings. Nothing really, man. I mean, here's the thing that alerted me on Apple, right? Here it was. Ready? Here we go. John says, they're basically similar to dojis. Yep, exactly. So if we take the highs of 2015 and go down to the lows, it traded down 30% and bounced right off the 200 symbol. If we go over here to the highs and just drag this down, 37% hitting the 200 simple moving average. During this drawdown right here, Apple lost more money than like 1,000 Teslas. Something ridiculous. It lost like 400 PayPals. I mean, that's a lot of money for it to be down. Again, down 37% into the 200 simple moving average. My thought was, even if they just do terrible on earnings, they'll still probably gap up. But I mean, the earnings weren't bad, in my opinion. Graham says, would you say Apple will go back to an all-time high? I mean, yes. It's not going to happen in a week or anything, but yeah, I think based on the trend, so just based on this trend, it's going to take a little bit more time for it to get back up there. They have $1 billion or so in cash. Is that what I read? Can someone verify that for me? I think it was $1 billion in cash. Oh, was it 2 billion? $2 billion in cash? Oh wait, I think it's more than that. Shoot, how much is it? Sorry, I'm trying to be sarcastic. Some people tell me I'm not really sarcastic very much. Yeah, they have a little bit of money. Baba, this was my
Right? So that was back in January when Apple was down at 165, where again, you could have picked up 3 shares, 10 shares, 20 shares, 100 shares, something. Picking up something. Now, if you didn't get the hint then, all during this time I was bullish on Apple the entire time, talking about Apple. Pretty much every day I pull up the stock review. Every time I look at Apple, I talk about how bullish I am. So then on April 2nd, I pulled up another random day right before I went to Greece discussing how bullish I was on Apple. Let's listen to that analysis. You guys all know we're bullish on Apple, right? We're good on that? I think I covered that. I think we're good. I think everyone knows we bullish on Apple. Have you heard that before? Type in a 3 if you've heard me say that before. Apple's going higher. No one's listening. Man, people out there, I was just on a show before this, and there's still people that hate Apple. Still people that hate them. And yet, this is true. I'll show you if you need me to. There was a thread of one of my good buddies who posted in his Facebook account. He goes, "Hey man, you know what, let me just read this verbatim. I'll just read it to you. I don't have to show it to you, but you guys will believe me." Okay. Where's Billy? Billy Brown, who might be on the Real Life Trading Show at some point. So Billy says, thinking about investing in AirPods. Those that have them, good or bad. You know, so he's going to Facebook for public opinion. Here's the list. Husband has them. He loves them. Next person, I love mine. They just got updated, so they have wireless charging now. Hey Siri features and even more hands off. Next guy, I'm addicted. Next person, I have the originals that had some battery issues. I enjoyed them nonetheless. I'll replace them with new ones soon. Next person, I'm finally going to get a pair too. Everyone likes them, and they're #1 selling true something. Next person says, very good. Stays in your ears surprisingly well. I didn't read that one before, but that cracks me up. Next person says, love them. Regular calls to work out on an airplane, solid investment. And then because I'm lame, I wrote, good. Your life will never be the same. And then I said, of course, buy some shares of Apple. So the thing is, people are buying AirPods. You guys know how much AirPods cost? I'll tell you, 0.49 Rs. Depends on where you go. Half an R. Right around there. Yeah. Around half an R. They cost money, and people are buying them like hotcakes because they're great. They're so good. If you have Apple products and you don't have AirPods, you should buy them. I'm not sponsored by Apple, although I should be. If you guys know anyone in the Apple who wants to sponsor someone, throw my name. I love the fact that we closed above this candle yesterday. I love all these gaps. I love all these dojis. I love Apple. It's so bullish. I can't even stand it. So if you don't have some shares or some call options or something on Apple, I don't know how more specific I can be. Gustavo has some put sales. That's nice. Chief has some calls. Amity says, my kids are iPod touches from Santa. I think there's a typo in there somewhere. Maybe. I don't know. Mark has calls and shares. Sharon has shares. Cool. Steven says, there are other options that are better for working out and running. No denying that. I'm not going to say they're the best. They're close to the best, though. They are pretty good. They're pretty solid. They do stay in your ears surprisingly well. They are like they're pretty much the most expensive pair of headphones you can buy ish. Anyway, cool. So we all know, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying tomorrow is going to go up to 200, by the way. Just because I'm bullish on Apple, things still take time. I could easily see this and this, but today's candle on a bullish factor is like a 10 out of 10. It closed above the high of both of these bearish candles right here. Both of them. Yeah, this thing's gone. I would not be surprised if I come back from Greece and Apple's at 210. Maybe not that high. That would be ridiculous. But maybe like 201, 202. Sure. And there you go again, folks. Another example. This is a trade that we did. Let me just show you really quick some other charts that we posted on Apple not too long ago. Pretty happy, realistically, about this because we did a covered call on Apple April 23rd, and it was pretty much the perfect time to do it. 294 for June at 220. And what was great about it is just yesterday, you'll notice the comment, buying to close this covered call for $1.46. Solid 50% of premium is gone with today's gap. No upside cap over earnings. So able to lower the dollar cost average by like $1.50. Pretty much free money with that particular covered call, buying it back. And then after that purchase, oops, I didn't mean to close that. A lot of traders also got into this particular trade. And as I do this, I'm going to pull up my Twitter because there's some more love out there for people who are not in the real life trading group. But here's the put sale on Apple over earnings. Talked about this one, posted this one yesterday. This was the 175. Could have gotten 115 bucks for that particular put sale and able to buy that back today for 19 cents. So yeah. Wave readers, hope you crushed Apple as well. And again, back over to my Twitter feed, which is at Newsome Nuggets. Shout outs to a really good buddy of mine, my friend Sam. Sam, I love you, man. Great trade on Apple. He made 2.1 Rs this morning. And my good friend Kevin, who is here in Nashville, Tennessee, snagging some serious gains on Apple. He texted me this morning about the trade. Michael York making some good money on Apple, because that was my question. I was like, who's making money on Apple? In fact, if you did not make money on this bullish gap and go on Apple today, let me know, because I feel like I did my job wrong somehow. This was one of the easiest gap and goes I've seen in a long time. This is my favorite gap. When you get that bearish S-curve, right, few days in a row of bearishness, and you just barely gap above that resistance. I don't know how you couldn't have made money on Apple today. I'm dumbfounded by anyone who didn't pull up this chart and look at this high wave candle. So you got a high wave candle on the 3-minute chart. You got a high wave candle on the 5-minute chart. Every possible candle you could have possibly wanted on any time frame. Entry here, stop somewhere down here. That's how we played it in the morning room for a solid win. Apple is going to continue to go higher with this gap, folks. It's incredible. Fundamentally, technically, everything you could possibly want. Love the gap, and all-time highs are imminent on Apple. I will be looking at doing a 240 June covered call in the next few days, as we most likely just keep on grinding higher on Apple. Anyway, enough about Apple. That's what I got. Let's look at 2 or 3 others. Tesla. Keep a very close eye on Tesla. I don't think it's going to close below 230.80. But if it does, especially if it happens tomorrow, or especially if it gaps down, be looking for Tesla to go lower. Because if it really breaks and closes below 230, I think there's a strong chance that Tesla goes to 187, which is the 100 simple on a monthly chart. This is the price and the place where Tesla should bounce, realistically. So I'm just saying, if it closes below 230.80, I'm going to have a smidge more bearishness on Tesla as it trades down into about the 187 mark, and then from there, should be a good buying opportunity. But still going to take advantage of the volatility and the sailing of the premium on Tesla as it kind of trades a little bit lower. But watching that one relatively closely. Shopify doing its best Moon Lambo impression. I posted a chart on Shopify that actually got a lot of slack A lot of people messaged me and didn't like this analysis at all, but I don't know. So the chart was called Future Targets on Moon Lambo Shopify. And this is just some charts. Gorgeous trend, nice distribution, and bull flag on a large-scale time frame. Bull trend, solid company, amazing future outlook. Again, folks, if you follow me on TradingView, I mean, I post these charts very frequently. So we're just continuing. I mean, the trend is amazing. Great company, great everything. Bull flag, breakout, distribution, everything, blah, blah, blah. Good, good, good. Shopify, its next target, 302.26. Square reporting earnings very soon. Tonight, tomorrow morning, we're going to have a lot more information. And I don't necessarily think a lot's going to happen with Square. For me to get really bullish after earnings would have to gap above 77. For me to get bearish, would have to gap down below 69.5. I don't necessarily think any one of those things are going to happen, but if it does, I'll keep a very close eye on it. Got this condor on Square. Keep in mind, long term, I'm very bullish on this company, and I do emphatically think it's going to go back up to 100 at some point. It's just going to take a little bit of time, a little bit more of a rest. At any point in time, if it comes down to 55, I'll be buying with both hands. But with this condor, I feel pretty good about it. We'll see what it does on earnings. I'm expecting if it does gap up, it'll probably be a small gap. It'll retest this, and then we continue higher. Love Square longer term. Really excited to poke over earnings and see what it does. By the way, next review is going to be on Friday. And what I'm going to be doing on Friday is picking a trade that a real-life trader took, and I'm going to be analyzing that, breaking it down, talking about the good, the great, the bad, the ugly, and I'm going to be doing that every Friday from here on out. So I got plenty of stocks and plenty of trade setups to look at already, but I'll be picking some traders and analyzing one setup every single Friday from someone else out there in the real-life trading community, and just kind of breaking down all aspects of that trade and talk about what was great, what was bad, what was good, and hopefully we can all learn from that together. Shout outs to my good buddy Tom, who's going to be in Nashville for the real-life trading experience, boot camp, trading experience, whatever you want to call it. My boy Tom's going to be here in the second week of May, trading with me all week. He made himself a cool $2,000 trading Tesla, Amazon, and Apple today. So Tom, shout outs to you, man. Well done. Folks from around the world, keep being amazing. Let's continue enriching lives together. And until next time, love life, and trade it. Bye.